There's a document in this country that most people outside of policy circles have never read. It's not classified, it's not hidden. It's an 8-page memo written by a corporate lawyer in Virginia in the summer of 1971. And that memo is the single most important document in modern American politics, because almost every political shift that you've lived through, Citizens United, the Federalist Society, the capture of the Supreme Court, the collapse of labor unions, corporate money in every election, was sketched out on 8 pages by one man. It's called the Powell Memo. And once you know it exists, prepare to be uncomfortable. His name was Lewis Powell. He was a 63-year-old corporate attorney from Richmond, Virginia. He sat on the board of Philip Morris, the tobacco company, and spent years arguing in public that cigarettes did not cause cancer. He represented American corporations. He was a fixture of the Virginia establishment. And on August 23, 1971, he wrote a confidential memo to his friend Eugene Snyder at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. The memo was titled Attack on the Free American Enterprise System. It was marked confidential, which means it wasn't meant for the public. So fast forward 2 months. Richard Nixon nominated Lewis Powell to the United States Supreme Court. The memo wasn't disclosed during his confirmation hearings. The Senate never saw it. The American public never saw it. Powell was sworn in as a Supreme Court justice in January 1972, 6 months after writing a private plan for corporate America to take over the country. The memo opens with a warning. Right. No thoughtful person can question that the American economic system is under attack. Powell argued that business was losing the universities, losing the media, losing the younger generation, losing the courts. And the only way to reverse it was a coordinated multi-decade plan funded by corporations to take back every institution that shaped American opinion. The language in the memo is the language of war. Let's call a spade a spade. He used the words frontal assault, warfare, rifle shots, guerrilla warfare. He underlined the word survival. He said that corporate America had to abandon compromise and appeasement. Now, this plan had 4 parts. 1, capture the universities, fund scholars, endow chairs, monitor textbooks, pressure faculty. 2, capture the media, surveil television content, produce counter-programming, build new press favorable to corporate interests. Hello? Are you listening? 3, capture the courts. He wrote directly that the judiciary may be the most important instrument for change. Fund strategic litigation, build legal organizations, get corporate-friendly judges on the bench. 4, capture the political system, build lobbying arms, create political action committees, spend on elections at a scale that nobody's ever done before. Seriously, that was the plan. 8 pages of that bullshit, written in a matter of weeks. So here's what happened in the decade after the memo was written. 1972, the Business Roundtable was formed, a lobbying organization of Fortune 500 CEOs. 1973, the Heritage Foundation was formed with seed money from Joseph Coors. 1973, the American Legislative Exchange Council was formed. That's the organization that writes model legislation, which gets copy-pasted into state legislatures. Stand your ground laws, voter ID laws, anti-protest laws, right-to-work laws. Literally all of it. Drafted by corporate lobbyists in a conference room, then handed to state legislatures to introduce. 1977, the Cato Institute, founded with Koch money. 1977, the Chamber of Commerce National Litigation Center, now the most successful corporate advocacy group in Supreme Court history. 1978, the Manhattan Institute. 1982, the Federalist Society. That's the organization that controls the conservative judicial pipeline. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Every single one of those organizations was a direct descendant of the Powell Memo. In 1971, there were 175 corporations, right? By 1982, there were over 2,400. 2,400. But I said all that. Here's the part that should stop you in your tracks, though. In 1978, 6 years after he was sworn in, Lewis Powell wrote the majority opinion in a Supreme Court case called the First National Bank of Boston versus Bellotti. That case is the first one that established that corporations have First Amendment rights, the right to spend money influencing elections. Let that sit for a second, right? You can't make this shit up. The same man who wrote a private blueprint for corporate America to take over this country, then went to the Supreme Court and wrote the ruling that legalized corporate political spending. He handed them the weapon he had designed in secret 7 years earlier. In 2010, the Supreme Court decided Citizens United v. FEC was going to be the ruling that opened the floodgates for unlimited corporate money in American elections. The Citizens United majority opinion cited Powell's 1978 ruling over and over again, which means the case that broke American democracy in 2010 was built on the same foundation poured by a man who designed the entire plan in a private memo in 1971. So I just want you to take a minute to think about everything you've ever seen break in your lifetime. Unions, public schools, local newspapers, state legislatures, the Supreme Court. Think about every time you've wondered why this country keeps moving in one direction, no matter who gets elected. Now understand this. The people who built the machine that did that to you handed each other a memo in 1971. They passed it around corporate boardrooms. They funded the think tanks. They endowed the chairs. They built the courts. They trained the judges. They wrote the laws for 54 years. While most of us were just trying to live, they were executing a plan. So no, it's not you. You were never behind in an argument. You were playing a game that somebody else had already finished designing. I got nothing. I got no more words.